10 hungry jack biscuits. We're in the army. 10 hungry jack biscuits. We're in the army. I've always wanted to say that at the top of a show. Welcome to the best show on Monday nights. TCB Studios on the road. Welcome to Burn It Down. Just finished reading some poetry. Want to thank Han and everyone at Java Lords. Had a wonderful time. Thank you, Renee Yaworski, for everything you do behind the scenes. I'll see you in 14 minutes. But right now, we are bringing up to bat a dear friend of mine, a writer and an author of this very important book, Atlanta Record Stores, an oral history. We are going to get into it. We are going to go for a ride, and we are going to burn it down. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Radford.
Hello.
Chad Rad, how are you?
I'm great, Tom. How are you?
I'm so good. I love our times together. I love talking and I love breaking it down and burning it down. Congratulations on this book.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. It is so great and it's so important because there's these lost, beautiful slices of heaven in cities, like bookstores, like record stores. And you document such a great piece of oral history for so many years for music in general, for music lovers, but also for what we call like the left of center or, just a little bit off. So noise, jazz, hip hop, um, spoken word albums. I absolutely love this book. Thank you for sharing it with us, and thank you for being on the show tonight. And I'm so excited to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for reading it. And I'm glad you like it. It's been a lifetime coming coming together.
Well, that's my first question, and we were talking just now backstage, me, you, and Renee. And so, do you collect these thoughts and these yellow sticky notes literally all over the fridge and all over your office? Or are they yellow sticky notes behind your forehead and your brain over the years? And you say, okay, when I eventually do this, this has been a lifetime of me as a writer, a music journalist, and then a fan first because we're fanatics. We just love this stuff. And then you say, wait a minute, now's the time? Or what was the preparation like? What was your prep work like?
Well, to answer the first question, the yellow sticky notes are all in my head.
Yeah,
Um,
I got those as well.
I I've said this a few times elsewhere, but when I was a teenager and was a kind of a miserable Midwestern kid, I got into skateboarding, and I found a record store in Omaha called Drastic Plastic. That I
Beautiful.
went there because I was looking for skateboards and skateboarding stuff, but it was actually a record store that just sold skateboards, and so it was like, I went in there and I saw all of these records and all of these T-shirts by bands, and it was everything from like The Cure to Minor Threat, the Butthole Surfers, Big Black.
Hmm.
All this stuff was kind of hanging side by side with Bauhaus, Joy Division. So in my head, I kind of like just immediately constructed this world that all of this stuff for me fell under the banner of punk rock. I
I
didn't really
agree. Yeah.
distinction between what made Big Black different from Joy Division or the Sisters of Mercy or Minor Threat. It was all a whole undiscovered country for me,
Right.
and just the thrill of just finding out that this entire world existed. It changed my life. It made me not so miserable, and you know, um, it's that has never left me. And to this day, I'm 48 years old now, and I'm always scoping out the record stores and sort of calculating how much the next paycheck is going to be, how much I have to spend on the bills and the things that I actually have to pay for, and then what records can I buy, and it's as you go into these stores and you meet these people who work there, you find out that they've spent their entire lifetimes working there as well. And their attraction to the stores, maybe it was different from what drew you, maybe it was very much the same, but you find out that you're not alone in
Right.
desire to just sort of know more. And it's kind of like the guy behind the counter at the record store, or the gal behind the counter at the record store. It's like your bartender or the
Right.
barista. You develop a relationship with them, and they start to learn what you like, and it grows from there. And that was kind of what I really wanted to capture, at least with this first book. I wanted to give like an entry into record stores that you can go to right now in the year 2023, and sort of just have an instant access to the last 50 years of history in this town.
Right. Yeah, I remember when we had you on Three on the Ones and Twos. Shout out to Cassie and James Joyce, and we kind of like scratched the surface with that when you talked about this record store and this one man in particular who became a mentor, a bigger brother to you. He said, "This is cool, this isn't." And you learn so much from that. And I had someone like that as well in New York City. And it really was like they were like giving me the proper guideline, and then eventually what's cool and what's not. Like you just
Mhm.
follow their good advice and quickly you have the same taste and you have the same ethics and morals as well. And
Sure.
I love that because I've talked with you and so many of my good friends about this, and I love that um, everyone seems to have this common understanding and thread of like, well, it could be NWA, it could be Public Enemy, it could be the Sex Pistols, it could be the Clash, it could be Merle Haggard. If it's honest and it comes from the crotch, we view it as punk.
Right.
And I absolutely love that. I know I've talked about that with Renee, my producer and director behind the scenes, and she understands that. I've talked about with my friend Lars Nagel, and it's this honesty thing. It's this honesty that it comes from the gut and the crotch, and then and they're clearly, even if the songs are hooky, and I'm a guy who loves melodies and hooks, but it needs to come from that honest place first.
Hmm. Am I allowed to curse on this program?
Yes, you can say whatever you want. It's called burn it down, man. You could burn it down.
All right.
As long as
But
as long as it's positive, we can do whatever we want.
okay. Well, like every in our daily lives, we are inundated with bullshit,
That's right.
from every direction, and that includes music. And there's so much bullshit that is being heaped upon us, and we live in an era now where the algorithm determines what bullshit is being slung at us,
Yes.
and most
Yeah.
people just lap it up. And the algorithm is not it's not taste. It's a poor excuse for taste. And there's nothing it is better or more human than getting away from your computer, putting your phone in your pocket, going into a record store and digging through some records, getting your hands dirty, and
Yes.
finding something that you've never heard of, or maybe you have heard of, and just being intrigued by the name of the band, the name of the
Right.
record, the artwork, what section it's filed under, any of that, just
Right.
getting out of your house and just having a physical, real world experience, a tactile experience.
I absolutely love that. And uh, one or two of my favorite things in the world is one, turning someone on to a band that's been around for 30 years, but for some reason it escaped, it went under their radar, it escaped them, and
Hmm.
seeing and watching and observing them hear this one song or this one thing for the first time. Like I remember me and Marlo and Mike Sheen were talking about it. Be like, have you ever met a kid who just for the first time, listens to the Pogues and hears that poetry had never heard before? And if they're smart and they get it, like the excitement in there. You're like, man, I'm so jealous of watching that. But my second favorite thing is when someone turns me onto something new. And that has happened so many times. I mean, there was a time many years ago now that I had no idea about the band The Fall with Marky Smith. And let me tell you, it changed me. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I basically had what, 60 albums to discover, because almost every album is different players and it's almost a different band with just one consistency, which is Marky Smith in the band. And but the poetry and the rawness to it is so beautiful and so exciting. And that's what the guys who've been working at and own and operate and manage these record stores for 30 years do.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember going to a record store and someone turning me on to the band Leatherface. Shout out Daniel Gay if you're watching. And the description the guy told me was, he goes, "It's Motorhead meets the Police," and I was like, "I'm in." And
Wow.
I listened to the album Mush, and it changed me. It was like it was such an important record.
Mhm.
Absolutely lovely, because look at us, we're smiling just thinking about that stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's it definitely like picks your brain in those places that both nostalgia and discovery collide. You know,
Right.
and
Yes.
even after, like I said, I'm 48 years old, and I've been going to record stores for a long time, and there's no end to the new shit out there that
Right.
people's like, did you ever hear? And it happens all the time. I remember during the pandemic, I kind of I like redirected my interests and my tastes into a lot of punk rock. I think maybe I was just angry at the way things were going, or
Yeah, the
as a
world the world the
professional
world was falling
journalist,
apart. Yeah.
I was always being pushed by my superiors to write about music that I didn't give a shit about, but they knew would get clicks on the website. And so, reconnecting with kind of my tastes and who I was, I started, not only did I re-listen to a lot of things like the Subhumans, but I really kind of
Love it.
delved into music by groups like Sounds and a lot of like Southern California hardcore music that, like, when I was like a teenage skate punk, like I buy the tapes and would get into it, but that music really resonates with me in
Sure.
different ways as an adult.
Yeah.
TSOL to me
I
is
was just
just like
about
the
to say, I
Beatles.
was just about to say, True Sounds of Liberty, TSOL,
Mhm.
and even early Bad Religion. I
Yeah.
found myself going back to during the pandemic, and I was like, I remember the angst, but I remember this about this record, but I didn't remember this, and I loved all of it, and it was such a wonderful journey
Mhm.
to revisit this
Yeah.
stuff.
And you remember what it was that, like, attracted you to it as a younger person. And then to hear it now and find all these new dimensions in the
Yeah,
music, it's like people never gave that music quite the credit that it deserved. And that's ever like Agent Orange is the same way.
what a great band! What a
TSOL,
great band!
DI.
This Oh my goodness, yeah. And we could talk about Southern California for 2 hours.
Is this what a
Uh,
midlife crisis looks like?
well, listen, it's better than you getting a yellow Corvette and a big loop hoop earring, but not knocking anyone who's done that. I know for me, it's always been travel and learning more about myself and the arts
Mhm.
and books and history and music. And
For real.
travel and hiking and seeing things. And I know you're a fan of nature and you get out and ride bikes and love discovering new birds and bees and stuff. And it really is wonderful, because I think all of it speaks to an artist. Like when you're a fan of things that are organic. Uh,
Yeah.
the word organic to me has multiple meanings as I get older, and it's one, yes, things happen naturally and they're organic, but the other thing it just means is, to me, it's just so human, and or something that's breathing, and I love all of that. So whether it's me hiking and seeing beautiful nature, or I have, after I come down a hill and I'm in a town I've never been in, and there's guys busking on the corner, and a guy's playing a shoebox for drums, or banging on a Bible or an encyclopedia. It's all beautiful.
Yeah, on that note, I've often said, one of the most amazing live performances I've ever seen was in Jacksonville, Florida. And I,
Uh-huh.
I walked onto the beach, and there was like a I even yeah, I use the term beach bum very loosely. I don't know if he was homeless
Right.
or what, but it was an elderly gentleman missing some teeth, long hair, with an acoustic guitar singing California Girls. And
Beautiful.
it was just like what a like it seemed so inane, but just to
Right.
see this guy and kind of the passion he was putting into this song, it stopped me dead in my tracks. A song
Yeah.
that you've probably heard every day of your life for the
Right.
last
And if you would
30
have been
years.
there 10 minutes earlier or 10 minutes later, you might not have caught that.
Right.
It's all beautiful. And that's why I think what life, if you let it, is art. Our conversation right now is a piece of
Hmm.
art. The noises that happen in big cities, whether it's someone screaming, cursing, or a bunch of cars, uh, horns going off by
Hmm.
impatient people. There's just this beautiful sound and feeling of just creativity.
Yeah, I've always been really sort of turned on by just sound. And during my musical journey, I discovered things like John Cage and
Yes,
Pauline Oliveros, who had her deep listening experiences. And like, many times a week I'll just sit on my back patio with a beer and just listen,
right,
for a minute. And that's, part of the appeal of nature too, is the sound and sort of, I've spent the last 25, 30 years of my life parked in front of a computer. And then when you
right,
go outside and you witness the natural world in action, and you realize
right,
that there's like 30 different species of birds come into your
right,
backyard every day. You start really kind of dialing into that and kind of
right,
wondering, what lesson can these things teach me,
right.
before they all go extinct, as a part
Yeah,
of, as because of human
right.
interaction with the
Yeah,
environment.
oh my
But
goodness, yeah.
it's
Well, yeah, if you ever listen to Whales talk, I mean, it's a beautiful album, and which is funny, we mentioned the West Coast, and then I gotta go back to New York City, the whole no wave. I mean, the late '70s, even though I was still a young boy, 10 years later, I discovered it from James Chance and
enjoy
DNA
yourself.
and Lydia Lunch, and then even later on, John Zorn. A lot of these noises sound like and then the lounge lizards. A lot of this stuff, I discovered in old bookstores and record stores when I'm on tour in cities I've never been to, or city I've been to for the first time, or places that you've played multiple times, and this is a great record store there, and you
Mhm.
discover this stuff, and that stuff almost sounds like city traffic. Like this, the noises are
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, yeah. So a couple of things to say there. I was a big fan of the band Helmet,
Yeah,
and I once did an interview with Paige Hamilton,
yeah,
and she
talented
told me
guy.
about moving to New York City and kind of getting in with um, that scene up there, and with his music trying to emulate the sound of the subway. And
Right.
I mean, if you listen to Meantime, like the album, it's like it sounds like the sounds that you hear if you're riding a train.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the rhythms that he's like creating on that guitar
I
are
absolutely love
very
that.
much
Yeah.
the subway. But also, you mentioned Lydia Lunch,
Hmm.
and I discovered her music and her writing as a younger man. When I was also discovering things like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and
Birthday
Edis,
party. Yeah. Boys
yeah,
next door. Yeah.
and Sonic Youth, and Lydia has always been a particularly like ferocious artist.
Yes.
To me, it's like larger than life. Like that, the like
It's
what she
almost it's
creates
almost
is.
brutal, and
Mhm.
it and if you're not completely open minded at the right time, you might
Right.
need to listen to it a few times before you even can
Yes,
grasp it. Yes.
it's difficult listening, but I recently learned um, that Kevin Kinney from
Hmm.
here in Atlanta, Driving and Crying,
Love
frontman,
him. Hmm.
songwriter, guitarist, what was Lydia's roommate for years in New York
Wow.
City, and I was just like, what? Like, if you were to play 6 Degrees of Separation, like I'm friends with Kevin. Kevin was. It's like that's like one step away from Lydia Lunch.
Yeah, for sure. And that would have been a great reality show, watching them two as roommates for a minute. I love
Yeah,
Kevin. As a matter of fact, this poetry thing that I just did, the last one that I did a couple of months ago, Kevin showed up and heard me do a few poems, and then he got up and read a few of his own poems, and it was wonderful. Big fan of Kevin. I used to bump into him a lot when he was living in New York, and I was living in New York. He's living back here now. He is awesome. I want to bring on Renee and get her involved and let's throw some questions at you about this beautiful book because I really want our viewers to check this thing out. We'll give them the information where they can purchase it because I really think it's a must have. I absolutely love it.
and I need
Renee,
to
where you
spell them.
at?
I'm right here. I'm right here. And I just want to say all the like Lydia Lunch and Kevin Kinney and all the stuff you're talking about resonates with me too. It's so much of my journey has been through those bands that you've been
Yeah,
listening. And another thing I wanted to also mention too is I've come across people saying, "Well, I don't like punk music or I don't whatever." But what you guys said is totally true. I always say it's an attitude.
yeah,
It's not really like punk rock is a genre per se because they all sound so different. It's about being authentic, about being yourself, and about really trying to change the culture. So I always find it bizarre when people try to say like they don't like punk rock, but
oh no,
everything you guys said, yeah,
that's a whole nother show. I could tell you some of the greatest people. Well, I've been posting it lately. I think Joe Strummer and Joey Ramone both said the same thing, but with different words. And they said punk isn't about being like an asshole; it's about being a sweet person and
yeah,
helping the underdog.
yeah,
It's about
So
being kind.
yeah,
yep.
that's coming from. I mean, Renee right now looks like John Lennon's sister, Joan Lennon. What's going on, Joan? How you
Yeah, I think I got Joe Lennon. Yeah,
how
I
you
just I
doing,
had to
Joan?
look like a rock star,
You
because
look
Chad Rad is
awesome.
here, right? So I had
Yeah.
to talk about
Now,
that. But
and I've
um,
told you, Chad has been instrumental in this little bit of a writing and artistic career that I have, and I'm super grateful for it. But more than anything, I just treasure our friendship because we really have good times where we just get a cup of coffee and go for walks and talk about this stuff that we're talking about right now.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
and Chad, I wanted to tell you, I just got a bird feeder, and
Oh,
I've been
nice.
watching the different birds and trying to identify them. And it's so cool during my day to take just like a little second to
Oh
insert
wow!
myself in that nature. So when you were talking about that, I thought that's another cool thing
But
that I just
You'll
started.
need to screen. You'll need to take some pictures, screenshot them, send it over
yeah,
to Chad. And go, what is this? And he'll be
What
like,
is
that's a.
this?
He'll be like, that's a dancing cucamonga bird.
what have you identified so far?
Well, we have of course the cardinals, we
Hmm.
have blackbirds, we have
The red-winged
wrens.
blackbirds.
Yeah, blackbirds, and then the common wren, I think. I'm
Yep.
not really sure. And then robins, of course, but the robins don't go to the feeder. They go, I guess, more for the worms.
Yeah.
And chickadees, of course.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of brown birds. I have no idea what they are. So I'm just going to try and, maybe I'll send you some pictures. And if I don't know what something is, I say it's a sparrow, finch, or a wren. And I just have no evidence of that. I just say it's a random catch all.
The more you
Right.
do it, the more you'll be able to identify like wrens. Like when you approach it, you'll think like, man, wrens and all these other they look the same. But then the more you do it, you'll be like, these birds look nothing alike at
They look
all.
totally
Right.
different suddenly because you become like
Hmm.
but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Athens, Georgia music scene. Of course, I lived down there for
Yeah.
many years. A huge fan of everything coming out of Athens over the last 40 years. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the Athens scene and what makes it so unique? What makes it thrive? It's such a
Interesting. Yeah.
tiny little town. Talk a little bit about Athens, Georgia.
Man, there's a lot to be said about Athens. I've been writing for Flagpole magazine since pretty much I moved to Atlanta in 1999. Never actually lived in Athens, but when I moved here, the Elephant Six thing was still really going strong, and of
Yeah.
Montreal. I mean, I remember seeing Of Montreal play at iDrum when it was downtown, and I think there was literally like 4 people in the audience.
Right.
And but it's the thing about Athens is there's always going to be this constant flux of young creative people. I mean, they're at a time in their lives when they're experimenting and they're kind of on their own for the first time, and they're just the excitement of discovery translates into their music. And over the years, I have, as a writer, as someone who loves music, when things start getting like wildly popular, I kind of shy away from them,
Yeah.
and I kind of do that on the micro level. Like when indie bands start getting like really popular and selling out the 40 watt and things like that, I start sort of backing off and be like, this isn't really my music anymore. It's not my, I don't, this isn't mine. But I mean, and that's not always true.
Right.
But I will never forget the first time I wrote about hip hop in Athens. There was a collective that put out a record. I think it was called Urban Skills, uh, and I discovered that like Athens, Georgia, is kind of known for being this hub, this epicenter of indie rock, but there's all this other stuff going on there. And
Right.
and so I was like, wow, hip hop from Athens. What's that about? So I did that, and then there's
I
like,
mean, Danger Mouse is from Athens.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Um, and he had a hip hop, trip hop project called Pelican City.
Hmm.
There's a couple of CDs that are really good, and you can find them at the Book Nook for like $3. Nobody knows
Yeah.
what it is, and here's this like kind of crucial piece of Danger Mouse's musical evolution.
Right.
But over the years, like I've always tried to write about kind of the outsiders in Athens, like
Hmm.
and that has ranged from like I recently wrote about like a death metal, black metal band called Beast Mode.
Hmm.
Nicholas Malis is doing say crazy stuff, and it's just Athens is just a really creative place.
It is so much.
Yeah.
I was in Athens last week, and I love, there's so many of these stores that I go to regularly, like Criminal Records and Wax and Facts in Atlanta, Walk Street in Atlanta. But last week, I was in Athens, Georgia, and went to the Georgia Classic Center to see Wilco.
Okay.
And the show was amazing.
Mhm.
And I went to go do some record shopping at Walk Street in
Okay.
Athens. And
John Standes.
I bumped into your friend Cliff, who's in this book.
Cliff.
He is
Wow.
such a beautiful man. And he goes, how you doing, Tom? What are you doing here? And I go, I'm going to see Wilco. He goes, oh, I'm going as well. And he told me he went and saw them the night before in Tennessee. And he was like, oh, it was amazing. And we were just catching up. And he's always been so supportive. He's like, I love seeing you in town. I love seeing you so busy playing music. He's like, you're really important. You're a valued piece of musician in this Atlanta community. And I love that. And I'm so grateful for that. And then next thing we're having a drink with David Barbie, who, I mean, has done so much, for Athens music. And
Oh yeah.
he produced the last Rent Boys record the last record that I put out under the name Rent Boys in 1999. And we have
Mhm.
a great, we're fans of each other. So he texted and we met him at the bar real quick for a minute, but he was on a date with his wife, but we just got to chat with him for a minute. And I'm like, look at the talent in this room that's watching this band. And
Yeah.
Wilco were on fire that night. I hadn't seen them since 2010, and they were phenomenal. But I'm like, oh, there's Mike Mantione from 5/8. There's so and so. There's David. There's David. There's Patterson Hood. And I'm like, the talent in this town, the talent that goes out that loves music,
Hmm.
the fans that appreciate good stuff. I mean, Walk Street Records was packed, people buying records. It was the day after Record Store Day, but there's a show in town, and people are going to go out and support and buy things. And it was just such a beautiful, again, organic feeling.
Yeah.
A feeling, a very human, alive feeling of being alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're playing in Athens, I mean, I've played the 40 watt and stuff like that. When you're playing Athens, you're looking out, and some of your heroes are out there, and
Yeah,
it's hard to impress an Athens crowd. A lot of times, an Athens crowd is going to look at you like, "All right, what do you got? What
right.
do you got?" I mean,
Mhm.
everybody's played there. Merle Haggard's played there. Come on,
Yeah,
literally anybody who's everybody plays there.
you're
So they're
right.
not impressed. They're not impressed. You're not going to get a crowd to go, "Oh my gosh, you're incredible!"
Right.
I saw Alex Chilton there, before he died. I mean, just
But
everybody who's anybody.
yeah, I sort of feel like people aren't going like necessarily going there with like a chip on their shoulder to be like impress me. I think
No, no,
people
no, no,
like
no,
they
no, no, no,
genuinely
no.
love the music.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
and
whole cohesive scene. It's a whole
yeah,
community.
It
I
They
really
go in
is.
there. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
lifestyle.
My friend John Fernandez works at Wuxtree up
Oh
there,
yeah,
and
I
he's
love him. He's
one of
great.
the most genuinely talented
Yeah.
people I've ever known. Great dude. And the
Yeah.
last time I was in Athens, I saw the Melvins at a
Oh my
Wow.
and
Excellent.
it
Love
gosh.
the
was
Melvins.
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah. My brother Scott and I saw them right before the pandemic in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And it was like the 20th time I've seen them. And every
Mhm.
time they played
Right?
completely different. And if they played 30 songs, I maybe knew 2 of them. Like it was
Yeah,
just amazing.
they're on fire right now. Their new record is really good.
I
Oh
It's
will,
called
wow.
Bad
I
I,
gotta
Mood
I
hear
will,
Rising.
that.
I will get it and check it out. What's the name of it?
Bad Mood Rising.
Oh, cool.
So
That's a cool
It's
name.
just it's awesome and it's classic. I think like I think they're kind of coming from this place of the weirder we can be, the better.
totally.
And
Yeah.
some of the last few records have been they've been a little maybe too weird for like OG Melvins fans, but
Hmm.
the new one is
Well,
definitely
yeah,
a
because
crowd pleaser.
they're artsy as well.
Yeah,
And Bad Moon Rising, I'm immediately thinking of Neil Young, but also Sonic Youth. So I'm
yeah.
excited about listening to it. I mean, the last 5 times I've seen him, Bozo's worn a dress, which I love. It's like, yeah,
I have an interview with Buzz, and I didn't include that bit in what was published, but I'm thinking about just like publishing the whole Q&A on
yeah,
my
you did.
website because their 40th anniversary is this year. But
Yeah,
he kind of went off on a little bit of a rant about how there's like this young generation that's like really like they're like really into like transgender things.
Yeah.
yeah,
And he's like, I've been wearing David Bowie was wearing a dress in the 70s. I've been wearing a dress for
Yeah.
20 years. And nobody ever made a
yeah,
big deal
No
about it.
one ever mentioned it. Yeah.
yeah. He's such a weird, interesting, proper weirdo. I
Mhm.
absolutely love it. I've
I
I've
love
hung out
that.
with I've hung out with the drummer Dale a few times, and he's a strange guy, but a lovely guy, and I've even had a few whiskeys with him. So cheers, Dale. But
What a great drummer, too.
What a great, so he's a monster. Ben Thrower and I were building a TV station. Shout out to Ben Thrower in Bend, Oregon. Sometimes we have to be up work at like 4 in the morning, and and we saw they were playing this small club, but it was a school night. It's like a Tuesday night. It was like, we're going, we're going. And then sure enough, we had a hellacious day, and it was like the 17-hour day, and we had to be back in this TV studio at like 4 in the morning. And I was like, man, I can't. I hate to do this, but I can't go. So I go to bed, and Ben says he's going to go. He was not going. We leave the hotel room the next day. We're working, and I'm just slammed. And I go, hey, you want to go pick up lunch for everyone? So he goes to Whole Foods and picks some food. He texts me a picture of him hanging out with Buzzo, and I go, what the hell is this? He's online with me ordering a sandwich at Whole Foods. And he goes, and the girl making the sandwich is covered in tattoos. She goes, I'm buying your sandwich. Can I take a picture with you? So he takes a picture with her, and Ben Thrower goes, hey, I'm Ben Thrower from Weston Motel.
Nice.
I think you know my band. Can I take a picture with you? And he goes, next thing you know, there's a line of like nuns and just people at Whole Foods wanting to get a picture of Buzzo.
He blew his cover.
That's
Amazing, man.
On the
awesome.
topic, Buzzo put out a book of photography this year.
His photos are beautiful.
Yeah, this is great. I am so happy that I own this. Like
I'm going to check that out. You and I need to have a man coffee date very soon and bring books to each other to look at and read. I'll come by where you are, that great coffee shop that we went at last time. And I don't know. I just want to thank you so much for your friendship over the years, and thank you so much for this book.
yeah,
And everyone, hit up Chad. We'll tell you where you could order it and get it shipped to your city. But if you're in Atlanta, please go to Criminal, Wuxtree, Fantasyland, Wax and Facts. Go to these record stores, keep them in business, and also buy this book. It really is a wonderful, like Saturday afternoon oral history of a journey through the years. Like I'm talking about even in the 70s, like really a wonderful ride through the Twilight Zone.
Well, when I put it together, one of the things I was reading was Division Street,
Yes, yeah,
Studs Terkel, and
yeah,
Studs was known for his oral histories, and when the idea was kind of being floated my way, I was also reading this book called "Our Band Could Be Your Life"
Oh, I
by
love that
Michael
book.
Ezra, which I've read like 3 times.
Such
Me,
a
me,
great
as well.
book.
Me,
Oh,
me
James
too.
Mitchell.
Me
Yeah,
too.
love it.
And so I kind of was like, how could I blend these two ideas and make it
Hmm.
about Atlanta record stores? Because I talk about in the first chapter, it's like, I got asked to do it, write the book. So I'm like, oh
Now
yeah,
you're gonna write it. Yeah,
today. But then you're like, how? Like, where do I start? What do I do? And I kind of thought, like from a practical standpoint, I should write it about record stores that you can go to right now, like
yeah,
record stores that are open in 2023. So I did that, right now there are approximately 20 record stores open in the city, give or take. I think like Waterloo Sunset is between locations. The Record Loft has moved to a new spot. When I was writing at the Record Loft, like I've just barely squeaked in their new address.
right. Okay.
I had already been given the final corrected proofs, and then they announced that they were opening a new store, and I was like, "Wait, you got to put this in there."
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And what was I? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I wanted to write about record stores you can go to, but I wanted this to kind of be like, like I had to. It's hard to explain. I remember several years ago, Music Midtown had been gone for a long time,
You guys want to go? I'll
and
continue. No, I'll continue. Come on.
they came back, and the lineup was just all these like really
We're gonna
mainstream
let you down because we're gonna jam
based
some.
things. And everybody was like, well, what about this band, or what about that band, or this band, or that band? And I remember their response was something like, we have to just hit the core, and next
Right.
year we'll expand upon what we've done this year. And so,
Right.
I thought, like, I need to hit the core. Like, what are the core record stores in Atlanta? And
Yeah.
so Wuxtree, Wax and Facts, and Fantasyland are all like 50 years old, or they're coming up on 50 years old. Criminal Records is like the king of Atlanta.
Yeah. Eric.
So,
Cheers. Yeah.
so I hit up all of them, and as soon as I started talking about it on social media, I learned that people are almost more interested in record stores that don't exist anymore, record stores that they used to go to. And,
Right.
there's with nostalgia definitely has a
Well,
deep thread
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
topic. So I've kind of started making lists and taking notes and keeping stock of all the people who have kind of reached out to me, people that were that I couldn't track down when I was doing the first one. And
right.
there's so much material that I could do volumes 2, 3, and 4.
That's my next question because we were chatting last week. You said I can't wait to start working on the second one. Is that
Right.
what the second book will be?
So the second book, like I got a couple of things to say about it. Like the original Star Wars movie is Star Wars. It's great. Everybody loves Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back to me is like just like a far superior
I
experience.
agree. Yeah.
And so I kind of want the next book to be my Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
comes
You
to-
should just call it. You should call it Chad Radford, Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Yeah, you should just call it that.
Let me write that down.
Renee, you look so cool. Old Joan Lennon
Thank
over
you.
here.
I wanted to ask Chad about if he's familiar with Propeller Sound Recordings.
Oh yeah,
because they're putting out.
I wrote a story about Mercyland.
Yep,
Yeah.
I read that. Yeah,
David
it was a really
Barbie,
great article.
And I wrote about I'm drawing a blank. The group Waikiki, Paul Lenz's band.
Yeah.
What are they called? Why can't I remember this? It'll come to me. But yes, I'm familiar with Propeller Sound.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're coming out, like Love Tractor and Dex Romweber just came out with a new one, and I swear to God, it's the best.
Current Rage. Sorry.
Yeah, Current Rage. Sorry, yeah, but
It's so
Dex
good.
Romweber, I mean, came out with this incredible record, which is blowing my mind, and it's like, thank God he is still doing stuff, because I think some of his best stuff that he's ever done is right now. If anyone hasn't heard his new record, just go and check it out, because I have it on a loop. It's just incredible, but amazing sounds coming out. So that's a great record label to be looking for.
Propeller put it out?
Yep, Propeller put it out, and they do all, DBs. They have the DBs there. Too Much Joy. They've got Florence Dorr is on there. It's an incredible record label, and it's pretty new. I think it's only about a year and a half old. The record.
Somebody, when that Current Rage record came out, somebody kind of jokingly said, "These guys must be laundering money, by dumping all this money into this classic Athens stuff."
I love it.
It's amazing stuff. It stands up. It's
totally.
fantastic
stuff.
Yeah,
it's good, and I love that they're doing it. And that Mercyland reissue, We Never Lost a Single Game, is like
so good.
Perfect.
I got to catch them play and do a reunion show like last year, and it was wonderful. I don't know if you guys can tell, but now we are driving
yes,
in this interview. I want to thank Kevin Phillips right here. What's up, Kev?
Hey, Kevin.
This has turned into such a great interview and time. So I can't wait to continue it in person with you, Chad, this week, I hope. And Renee, you rule. And I just love it. I love this conversation. And the reality is we could have a B part, a C part, and a D part to it. There's just infinite. Man, everyone go check out Chad's book. It really is so awesome. I'm smiling because I'm talking with people that I love and talking about things that I love. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. It's so much fun.
And the whiskey helps.
That's right. Breaking all kinds of rules on a Monday night.
Did you take that tumbler back to Elmere?
Nope. We're taking it home. No. Kevy Duty just stole it. No. Listen, I've invested in Elmere. I could bring back that tumbler. I will see you guys. I will see you guys next week. Everyone, take care of yourself and continue to lift each other up, man. And choose awesome. That was so much fun.
Choose awesome.
Choose awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone.